today I'm going to talk about the 5 core childhood wounds that all act as an inner block. They all have their blind spots and they create a self-protecting mechanism within you that we can call an ego mask. These 5 wounds are going to be abandonment, injustice, betrayal, humiliation, and the most common of all, rejection. And first I'm going to explain what these are, how you can hear from them, and at the very end I'm going to go through a 28 question workbook so you can get a piece of paper and take down your questions, which one is going to resonate you, which one is not, and you can see out of these 5 wounds which one or which ones are going to be the most dominant within you, so you can start your own healing. So let's get into it. So let's start with rejection, which is going to be in all of us that we didn't feel fully accepted. But it's going to be, all of these are going to be on a spectrum and on a different level. And it also very important to mention that it depends on when the child experienced these wounds, because the younger the child is, the deeper the wound is going to be, so the most destructive the behavior is going to be. So this type of person didn't feel fully accepted, so most likely this person turns into an avoidant. This is going to be your typical runner who avoids conflicts and try to please people, but in a sense that they try to become like everyone else. For example, in a group, they want to go along with people and they just want to agree with everyone. This is probably the most profound wound, because when you feel rejected, you don't feel that you have the right to live. And this generally was created in the earliest part of the childhood, from the time of conception until about the age 1. And the core wound is actually coming from the same gender parents. So they felt rejected, that they were not wanted by the same gender parent. And the ego mask is going to be an isolation or withdrawal type of mask, that they want to escape reality. They cannot handle it. And this is where the core problem is, that when you feel loved with someone because you were rejected from such an early age, even when someone gives you a lot of attention, for example, the chaser, you will see it as something is wrong because you haven't got used to it. It's out of the norm. It's out of what you have experienced. And you are going to ask this question that, what is wrong with that person if that person wants me so much? But it's not going to be conscious. It's deep down in your unconscious, and on your conscious level, it will manifest in many, many other ways. And your ego mask can be seen in these forms, such as a deep dissatisfaction with life because you are not connected with your inner self, with your deeper self that has been rejected, so you couldn't connect to that. And also a lack of self-respect because you were not respected and you didn't learn how to respect yourself. You were generally seen, or maybe you see yourself as the black sheep in the family, or you see yourself as a meaningless person, someone who has no value on this planet. A huge anxiety is very general, and also it's a typical runner type of behavior. When you defend yourself, so this is your self-protecting mechanism, that you refuse the other person. But again, it's not conscious. It's like, I'm going to push you away before you would push me away. But many times the problem is that you are fighting against something that is not even happening. You are fighting with the demons from your past, that you are so afraid that you were hurt in the past and it can happen again, that you actually react to something that is not even there. Many times you come across as a perfectionist who is always busy with something. This is your way of escaping your pain and the world. And many times you can also escape into alcoholism, but it can be work alcoholism as well. So all of these external distractions that could detach you from this internal part that was rejected within you as a young child. And the very, very core of your fear or your anxiety is actually panic, which makes you a very, very phobic person. At the end of these 5 core wounds, I'm going to explain how you can heal. That is going to true about all of them, but there will be one specific to each one of them. And the one for the person who has this wound, the wound of rejection, is that you learn to feel good about yourself because reality made you feel negative. And you also have to realize that these are very, very old patterns that you learned from one single person or maybe 2 people. But there are lots of people on this planet, so you have to override it. And you have to learn to feel good in your own skin on your own, even if there is nobody who would make you feel that way. So you have to learn to feel good without other people making you feel good. And I know it's very, very difficult. By the way, I have this wound probably the most as well. The second wound I'm going to talk about is the wound of abandonment, and it's going to be the second deepest, and it's going to affect both the runner and the chaser very deeply as well. And what this wound created is that they didn't feel loved by the parent, and they constantly felt a very, very deep loneliness. These type of people feel emotionally hungry because they cannot give their self-love for themselves. But it's going to look a little bit different in the chaser and in the runner. So the chaser is trying to get that love from one single person, and it's going to be the runner, while the runner is trying to get that from friends or like a larger group that they want to belong, and that's how they get the love, that they feel loved by lots of other people, while again the chaser loved very deeply by one single person. These type of people have lots of ups and downs. They are emotionally unstable, so they feel like they feel happy, then they feel sad, and then they tend to dramatize things quite a lot. But they do that in a sense because they want attention. They both want attention and validation very, very deeply. They can seem from the outside like a narcissist, that they talk about themselves a lot, or they want the attention on themselves a lot, but in reality they try to heal a very deep childhood wound that they have been carrying in their whole lives. These type of people can act like a victim, because when they act like a victim, people go and help them, and this is how they can get the attention that they crave so much. That's why the chaser is so much in the need to be with the partner as much as they can, because this very, very core fear of abandonment If you are not with me, I feel abandoned. I feel lonely. I feel that you don't love me. And these type of people generally become codependents. These are the anxious, preoccupied attachment type. This is the chaser, or they can be the fearful avoidant, which is actually the combination of the anxious, preoccupied and the dismissive avoidant, and they create the disorganized attachment type, which is basically the mixture of the chaser and the runner, but they act predominantly as the runner. And this type can be very, very confusing because they can switch back and forth, but predominantly, again, they are a runner. They will move away a lot easier under stress. This is where you can really see which one you really are when there is a huge stress, where you are going into the most. And this core wound is going to be very active between year 1 of your childhood to year 3, because this is when this mammalian system, the attachment system, becomes active. So that's why it couldn't have the wound before, because you didn't have that system active yet. And it's actually with the opposite sex parent. So while the rejection was with the same gender parent, this one is going to be the opposite gender parent, and this is how we recreate this dysfunctional relationship in our adult life. So we try to resolve this abandonment issue and this type of codependency, that I depend on you, how much you pay attention on me, on the attachment figure. And the attachment figure, again, in childhood, it's going to be your opposite gender parent, and in the adult life, it's going to be whoever your partner is. And that's why when you feel that you are unsatisfied in your relationships and you feel like stuck in a loop, you really have to look for the pattern in the similarity and really think back what type of relationship you had with your opposite gender parent. And don't try to see it as, okay, it has to be identical. Look for the wound, and the wound is like how you felt. So you go for feelings, not the what, the how. And you also have to think back in a way that, was the parent emotionally supportive? Because maybe the parent seen the parental love in a sense that I buy toys for my children, or I take my children somewhere on a trip, but they are barely at home, and when they are at home they are watching TV or cooking or whatever, but they don't give the emotional needs, enough needs to the child. And this is where the wounding is coming from. And this is where the ego mask or the self-protective mechanism is coming from, that it creates a dependent person. And as I said, it goes two ways. If it's a chaser, it's going to be an extremely codependent who cannot live without the partner, and all the emotions and focus goes on the partner. And the other version is going to be the runner, who is going to be hyper independent, that I don't need you type of person. And the healthy person would be the combination of the two, that I can be independent and codependent at the same time, and it actually creates an interdependent person. I talk about it in a different video, that how a healed person looks like. I'm going to leave a link in the description box below. So let's see the traits, how it can manifest in a person. So it generally comes with very, very deep pain, and you can experience it as very, very deep sadness for absolutely no reason. Another version of it is that you experience a lot of loneliness in your life. And maybe you are crying completely alone for hours because you just cannot really be alone. And what that means is that you always have to be in a relationship, so you cannot really feel good about yourself when you are a single person. And I just want to point out something, that if you are a female it's not only your childhood wound, it's also this stupid society we live in, that females were really in a codependent relationship for thousands of years. If you really think about it, you still wear your husband's name most of the time, and women couldn't even survive on their own because they couldn't go to work. They were a property, officially a property, and also the children, officially a property of the husband. So we started to become independent not that very long ago. So you have to be very aware of that, that it's going to have a huge imprint, how you see yourself. And even after that, especially in traditional societies, you are seen as a female, as a typical female, if you are in a relationship. For a guy, it's not required. If you are a guy and you are single, you are a bachelor, you are a cool guy, oh my God, you are so good. Nobody is good enough for you. If you are a female, oh my God, you are alone? What the fuck is wrong with you? Why nobody wants you? There must be very seriously wrong with you. Oh, you don't want to be in a relationship? That's even worse. What the fuck is wrong with you? That's kind of our society. So you have to be really aware of that. Again, that it's not just the core wound, it's how society treats, and I would love to reframe it, mistreats most women. And you have to actually get rid of that self-limiting belief as well, not just the core wound. And you have to stand up also with your friends when they ask you that, oh, you are in your 30s, why are you alone? And you have to stand up, look, I'm enjoying life. When they are showing around a bunch of baby pictures that, oh my God, I have so many babies, and then they completely ignore that maybe you have traveled around the world. Look, you can have different friends. You don't have to stick around with people who are toxic in your life, and they cannot accept that you can be very, very different. So this is something for your mental health that you have to be really, really aware of. And another type of manifestation is that these type of people are really in the victim place, because that's how they want to draw attention. And even a more severe manifestation is that they become hypochonders. They feel certain illnesses that they don't even have, because they just crave that attention from other people. And they may act like that, I want to care about you, I help you, but in reality what they want is many times that they want the person help back to them. It's just not conscious in them. And a very different way of seeing this, it can happen also, that this type of people get the attention in a different way, that they're more like a celebrity kind of person, that they really want the attention on them from others. So it's still attention, but in a very, very different way. And these are the people who tend to complain a lot in order to get attention. But as soon as you give an advice, they do absolutely nothing, because in reality, it's not really about the solution for them. Again, it's about getting the attention from you. And their core pain, core anxiety, or core fear is loneliness. And the path to healing from this wound is actually that you start to make yourself feel good even when you are completely alone, even when you are not in a relationship, and you don't seek the attention of other people. And also when you feel lonely in a relationship, you have to realize that there are two types of loneliness. There is a type of loneliness when you feel lonely, but you are in a relationship. That is a huge red flag, because it means that your emotional needs are not met. But that is actually a lot worse type of loneliness compared to when you are on your own, and that's why you feel lonely. Because when you are single, you always have a chance to find someone who is a good match and can have a very, very fulfilling relationship with. And I'm saying this because this type of wound can make you stay in a relationship that is very, very unhealthy for you. The third one is going to be humiliation. And when we are going through this 5, you might find out that you actually have all 5 quite deeply within you. That's actually me as well. I have all of them. And that's why I am very upset of the system we have, that it protects the adults in a way that they have the right to have children, but the future children don't have the right to have emotionally mature parents. They are not protected. So this type of wound is related to physical aspects of life, and humiliation is really connected to shame. And on a physical aspect, it's doing something or having something, and it would make you feel dirty. And you can see this especially when someone has grown up in a religious, very, very religious family, that everything that feels pleasurable is classified as dirty. And it's very, very related to pleasure, that as soon as the child experiences pleasure, they go into an inner block, a withdrawal, that no, I don't want to experience that. And that's why many times these type of people actually become even disconnected from their sexual desires. They can feel unclean if they enjoy something, and enjoyment can actually create frustration in them. And many of these type of people actually overcompensate it, because you have to feel fulfillment by overeating. They can have also a very deep fear that they will get punished as soon as they start enjoying life too much. These are the type of people, when something good happens for them, they immediately start to freak out that, oh my God, something bad must happen now, because things are just turning good in a sense. And these type of people tend to really repress themselves, and they want to serve others. And the sad part is that because they keep punishing themselves by repressing anything that is enjoyable or do anything on their own, creating freedom in their own choice, connecting to their individual self, they constantly feel humiliated. But this humiliation is coming from themselves. They generally feel abused, but they again don't really recognize that they are doing this with themselves. They want to give up the freedom, their free will, and just follow rules of everyone. Just do what everyone else does. And they take the blame even when it's nothing to do with them, even when the blame should be on the other person. And this type of core wound was created between the age of 1 and 3. And it can be caused by any parent, it's not gender specific, who shamed the child for doing certain things. And the way it manifested in the ego mask is that this person creates a masochistic mask on himself or on herself. And other manifestations can look like that you want to serve, you become a servant of everyone you love. And maybe the love is not like a deep love, but like you are a member of a group and you want to be a very, very valuable person. You want to feel worthy. And this type of people generally really pay attention to what words they use. Because these type of people who have this humiliation wound, they are really afraid of their own sensuality. They tend to really repress it. And again, they are just extremely terrified as soon as something good happens in their lives. They are happier when things go wrong. That's when they feel safe, because that's what they got used to, that everything is just disastrous. And their core problem, their core stress or anxiety is going to be, again, the freedom that they can actually go out and enjoy life. They feel safe because these are the ego masks that create safety when they are suffering. These are these type of people who starve themselves and live like an ascetic life, or like a monk, that I am a good person when I renounce all worldly pleasures in my life. And to overcome this is you have to really start going after what you feel good. Try to reconnect with your senses and don't care overly what others would think of you. Draw a line between you and other people. Like if you enjoy, I don't know, whatever at home, what impact that does on another person. So that's what you have to really learn, to separate yourself from other people, because you are also a codependent too much on society, and you have to be able to create a boundary, because the boundary you have is actually within you. So you really repress everything within you. That's where the boundary is, that I don't allow anything, and then that boundary should be outside, and you have to create a very, very realistic one, that people have to know their own place. The next one is going to be betrayal, and betrayal is actually goes hand in hand with abandonment. So when they were little children, they actually felt let down. They felt betrayed by the parent, because the parent really disappointed them. They didn't live up to the expectations of the child. And this type of children can actually have anger issues that can manifest in many ways, but one common one is that they interrupt people when they talk. And they can become very, very impatient when things don't go in their way, or things don't go in their pace, how fast they want things to actually happen. And this type of people see themselves as very, very reliable and very, very hardworking. And exactly for this, that they see themselves as hardworking, they have very, very big issues with laziness. So they're always on the go. They're always doing something, because otherwise they would be lazy, right? So they don't really like just to chill down and relax. These are these typical hustlers who are working 24/7, and they are very, very proud of it. That, oh my God, how much I'm working. And that's their kind of biggest achievement, that they're always busy. They are very, very efficient people. And this is how they get disconnected from their internal world, from their deep pain, from the childhood pain, that they are always focusing on work and other things. So by the time they get home, they just fall asleep exhausted. And basically work is a distraction from this inner pain. And exactly also this reason, they hate showing any weakness, any vulnerability. They want to come across as very self-reliant and very, very strong people who in reality don't really need your help. But it's again coming from the thing that they have huge trust issues, that if they would need your help, then it would open up the possibility that you could betray them. And that's exactly why they have huge issues with delegating tasks. These are the type of people you come across and they say that, oh, everyone is so stupid, I have to do all the things on my own, and nobody can be trusted. And I mean, generally like a CEO or a boss of a company, because I'm not saying that everybody should be trusted. It's that the problem is that the people they pick are probably the wrong ones, or maybe the systems they have is just not efficient enough to check on those people. They generally see themselves as very, very reliable, very, very trustworthy people. So what they say is going to happen. And there is something that is coming from that they really love to see everything up front. So they really like to predict things. And it's coming again from really, really connecting to the head, and especially this part of the head, planning. But this planning and foreseeing things, it's actually a huge control. Because I'm not saying that you shouldn't plan, you absolutely should. But there has to be a realistic balance, that you allow a little bit of flexibility in it, because otherwise the person can become very, very rigid in the mindset and very, very controlling, that everything has to be known up front. And this is going to be a type of runner again, that their core need is not love. It's not about feeling loved. It's more connected to the head. So it's really about trust. Can I trust you or not? But they don't really see that, this is what I usually say, that they already decided that they are the only person who can be trusted, and nobody else can be trusted as much as they are. And that's why generally these type of people like to be friends with people who are very, very similar to them, because their logic is that if somebody is very, very similar to me, because I can be trusted, the other person can be trusted as well. But in reality, you can never know who the other person is completely. And it can manifest as they like people who agree with them. These are like-minded people who only accept one version of reality, and that version of reality is of course their version of reality. So this wound was created in about age 2 to 4 in the child life, and it's going to be with the opposite gender parents who didn't fulfill the needs of the child. And this can create a very specific mask, and it's going to be the controlling mask. And it's coming from that wound that you couldn't control the situation, you couldn't trust the person, your parent, you couldn't go away. So now you are trying to do that as an adult, and it can again manifest in many, many ways. Probably the most common one is that you are very, very disconnected from your own sensitivity. It means that you don't even see your pain, you don't even see your weaknesses, and you see yourself constantly that I am strong, I can go through this, I can do that, I can trust myself. Because if you had to face the reality that you depend on others, that would terrify you, because your core wound is that you can't trust the other person. You were let down, so you try to control everything in a sense as well, that you want to be self-reliant, and you want to feel that you are able to do everything on your own, so you can become hyper independent. And you constantly try to prove that you don't really need anyone by constantly improving yourself. You want to show that you are the best. You can do it better than others, because again, like this way, you don't need others, because if you are the best, like where would you go? And this type of people can really go for reputation, how much reputation they have, what achievements they have. So they are somewhere on the top of the hierarchy. They achieved something that puts them really, really on the top, and maybe others need them, but they don't need others, because there is this difference. And this is kind of, again, their control, that if you come to me, I can decide if I need you or not, or want to be with you or work with you. But just imagine, like if you are on the bottom of the food chain, you would depend on others. So you try to be as perfect as you can, so you wouldn't face this problem. There is a huge mistrust in the opposite gender, especially because this wound was created by the opposite gender parent. And it's again the constant planning. You have to foresee everything. And generally you will find these people in places, workplaces where this is actually rewarded, that they are very good at planning, like business people. They are going to be excellent, because if you are in business, you have to be able to see things in advance, and it's about lots of head work, like in planning and execution. So they are going to be very, very good in their job. But exactly for this, they are going to feel empty, no matter how much reward they have, no matter how high they are in the rank, no matter how much respect they gain. Deep down, they feel empty because they cannot get connected to their own inner child again, to rewire these old wounds. And you have to feel loved, and that's a thing, that they don't feel the need to be loved. They feel the need to be recognized and be on the top of everything. And this type of people don't really feel the need for any type of relationship, to be honest, unless it serves them. They admire them, or they can't live without that relationship. I would say it's more business related, and not really friendships, and not really close relationships. And these type of people can cross as arrogant people, because they are going to force their own thoughts, their own will on you. So they will come across as very, very controlling. They can come across as intolerant, impatient. They can come across as they get really quick in conclusion, and you can probably hear it many times. I'm listening to my gut. I'm listening to my inner wisdom. But in reality, they are just repeating the same pattern, that they push away everything. And instead of going through an analysis and questioning themselves that maybe things have changed, they are just very, very rigid in following an old pattern that has made them the most secure. And when it comes to relationships, they can very, very easily, because they're so fast in everything, just cut off relationship and disappear and go no contact. This relationship is not good for me. That's it. And they don't talk about, there is absolutely no, like, okay, like this dying part, and then get to, it's just like, that's it. It's not good for me. You complain too much, or maybe whatever. And then they just go away, and like nothing has happened. So they can come across as they're very, very unemotional people. And their core fear and core stress is going to be denial and separation. And your healing journey is going to be that be proud of your achievements on your own, without others being proud of you. So you have to be able to value yourself. And you also have to learn not to get too attached to the results only. You have to really see the effort you put into that as well. Because if you only reward yourself, and if you only see yourself as what have you achieved, how many cars you have, how many houses you have, how huge your boat is, that can make you feel really, really empty, because you forget to enjoy the small parts of life that can also make you happy. And the very, very last one is going to be injustice, and it's going to go hand in hand with the very, very first one, which was rejection. But rejection was related to being. That's why it's the very, very earliest one. And this one is going to be linked to having and doing. So it's very, very similar to shame, and that was humiliation. But this one is going to be injustice. And this one is going to be similar to a little bit to humiliation in a sense. Let me explain. So this one really goes against injustice the individuality of the child. And the individuality is going to refer to a more head type of thing, and humiliation is going to be more connected to the body, that is related to sensuality, what they're allowed to enjoy and what they are not allowed to enjoy. And this really goes to what is right, what is wrong, what is allowed. So it really creates a very, very rigid person who is a perfectionist, who always tries to look perfect in the eyes of everyone. So it's really, really on the outside. When they are in public, always say the perfect words, always look in a way that is expected. And they are coming from parents who were very, very cold. So they got really disconnected from this internal part, from the emotions and feelings, and they started to very, very live in their heads, but on that part of the head that is very related to society instead of their own individuality. And it's very similar to humiliation, that that person is very, very afraid of the freedom, their own freedom, and this is going to be again very, very similar to that. These people are generally very proud and can be very, very envious, and these are the people that you would label as self-righteous. They generally like order and they come across as cold, because the problem is that if they are cut off from their own feelings, like they cannot really understand you if you have feelings. And these people often come across as cold and they don't really care about you. They care more about the rules. But in reality, it happens because they are cut off from their own feelings. So just imagine if they are not connected to that, how they could connect to yours. They can't understand it. And this type of people can become very angry and cold and come across as they are controlling each other in a way that everyone should follow the rules. These were the people who burned each other, claiming that they were witches, because they felt safe only when there was an order that everyone followed the rules, the same rules. It again goes back to societies, and it's going to go back again to religion. And this type of people have a huge problem admitting that they have a problem. And that's exactly the key reason why their healing journey is going to be very, very difficult, because in order to start your own healing, you have to feel, so you have to get connected to your feeling, your internal self, that you are in pain and there is something wrong within. And this rigidity and this control and connecting to the rules that are so outside is so strong that can really block the person to go through a self-development. And they can really get stuck in this fair unfair mindset. And this type of wound was created by the age of 4 and 6 by the same gender parent in the child, where the parent was really, really dry. And this is a time when we start to learn about social rules. We go to kindergarten, and when the parent is always communicating with the head that, okay, you have to do because I said so, because these are the rules, you live in my house, and all of these, so the child doesn't feel that the emotions matter, their own opinion matters, and they are not connected to the emotions in a sense that a half a parent would connect to the emotions first and head second, because you need both. But this type of parent only told what to do. You do this because I said so, and I want to be really fast and just get rid of the child, in a sense that you do what I told you so, but this can create a huge wound in the child because the child's emotional part is still very, very active, and they want that connection to themselves because this is their core need that is basically denied by the parent. And the self-protective mechanism or the ego mask is going to be rigidity that can manifest as they feel harsh, they feel cold, they feel more like a robot kind of person who is just not emotional. And of course, again, it can manifest in many, many ways. A very common one is that even when they feel exhausted, they feel tired, they push that part of selves down and they just keep working that. Yeah, I can do that. I want to do that. I'm going to achieve that. I don't allow myself to feel tired. And this relates to the second one, that they can have difficulties, very, very big difficulties, admitting that they have problems in life. And it again relates to the third thing, this optimism. And it comes to this positive thinking that we hear about a lot. And positive thinking can be actually very, very toxic because what it does, it denies the problem. Of course, you need optimism in your life. So you see the negative things, the pain, and the positive things as well. But it has to be in a realistic way. And this type of thinking, it goes back to very strongly to religion. That it doesn't matter how much you suffer, you will be punished in life, you go through a lot of pain in life, but in heaven you are going to be rewarded. So kind of this type of thinking that it doesn't matter how much you suffer, at the very, very end, somewhere, it's going to be paradise for you. And it creates these people who are always living in the future. This is what you can see in pictures, that there is this guy running and the money is in front of them, and it just keeps going forward, but it never reaches the goal because it doesn't really stop and recognize that something is wrong. It's too focused outside of himself and on the goal, and disconnects from the internal part and reality. And another big problem is this constant need to be perfect and controlling yourself to seem perfect. But what you don't see is that by this control, you are controlling others as well, because you are wearing a very, very thick mask that is so thick that you don't even know who the hell is behind that mask, because you cannot see that person either. It's so disconnected from you. And because this type of person has problems showing emotions, it is going to manifest in relationships as well, that they just cannot really be in a satisfying relationship, because that's a part of any healthy relationship. And because they are so connected to this right or wrong, they don't see when they are unfair with others. Because the problem with this right or wrong mindset, that only one can be right. So if the other person is different than them, that person will feel unfair, feel that their idea, their individuality is pushed down. And it's coming from the original problem, that because this person's individuality is pushed down, they are actually doing exactly the same with other people as well, that individuality shouldn't exist. And it can come across as a very, very harsh criticism towards others, whoever doesn't follow the rules, and you do exactly the same to yourself as well. And this type of people, just as during work, they really, really repress the sensitivity towards the body. So even when they feel ill, even when they are tired, they are going to work, they are like little ants who are always productive. It doesn't matter how harsh the conditions are, if it's raining, if it's 1,000,000 degrees, if it's cold, you are still doing, because you're so disconnected from this internal part. And the problem is, if you are disconnected from this internal part of yourself, you are going to be, again, disconnected from the internal part of others. And because this type of person has a huge issue with feeling their own sensitivity, and they are tired maybe because they're so focused on external things, they have a huge difficulty just to chill, just to feel enjoy in their lives. And to overcome this injustice wound, you have to be able to connect basically to your impulses in a healthy way. So when you become angry, don't feel guilty. You have to be able to disconnect yourself or process this type of feeling that you are so afraid of being judged. But you have to understand that only a person who is unhealed and insecure and emotionally immature is going to judge another person. And only an emotionally immature person would expect others to be perfect. That type of person would have an unrealistic expectation towards reality, towards others, and also towards themselves. And now I'm going to talk about the general healing steps that can help any of these. And again, you can be even in all of them quite heavily, like I did. But after the healing, I'm going to just show you a test that you can do. So step one on the healing journey is that you have to identify, this is what we will do in the test. And then the difficult part is that you have to own it. You have to accept it, that this is true. If you don't accept it, you cannot heal it because it's denied, it's rejected. So you have to accept it, and then you have to feel your own pain. Then the second one is going to be that you have to accept your own blind spot, and it's that the fear and pain that is coming from your childhood is going to alter the way you perceive reality and the way you perceive others. And it can make you control others and mistreat others without you even realizing it. And the third one is going to be self-transformation, which means that you learn to separate yourself from others and from the outside world, and you start to see yourself on your own realistically, instead of seeing yourself how they react to you, how they behave with you. And in a sense as well, that you understand others, so you see their behavior from their perspective, and also yourself from your own perspective as well, not just what is happening. And you also learn to get out of this duality that maybe you are too selfish or too unselfish. None of them is healthy, to be honest. It has to be in a merged way, in an integrated way, that you have both within you in a healthy way. So for example, how it can come into your life, in your unconscious, is that if you see that everyone is selfish around you, you really have to think, why is that? That maybe you don't even allow others to do anything for you, because you identify yourself as the unselfish person who always helps everyone. And even when somebody would help you, are just like, no, I don't need that help. And that's the type of person who doesn't want help from others. And you really have to think about, why is that? And this is going to be the workbook now. And these are going to be 28 questions. So you should get a piece of paper, and there will be a letter after each of them. And the letter is going to refer to one of the wounds. And some question, if you have that, you can have even multiple wounds. And these are yes and no questions. So if the answer is yes, you have to write down those letters. So at the end, we are going to count which one is the most dominant, and this is how we are going to know which one is within you the most. So number 1, do you feel like a victim regularly? Number 2, as a child, do you ever feel that you were not wanted? Number 3, do you lack self-confidence? Number 4, do you regularly seek solitude, meaning you like to be alone, you are a more introverted person? Number 5, do you do the tasks slowly? Number 6, do you find it difficult to ask for help? Number 7, do you think you are stable and responsible? Number 8, do you want to be important in life? Number 9, do you regularly doubt your choices? Number 10, do you stress or get nervous before you speak? Number 11, do you feel anxious before you go on a trip facing a change in life? Number 12, do you use drugs or alcohol all the time? It means like overly. So if you drink once or twice, it doesn't count. Number 13, do you like acting? Number 14, do you always need a presence around you? In that someone always has to be with you. You can't be on your own, meaning you are very, very extroverted. Number 15, do you feel the need to help others all the time? Number 16, are you regularly convinced you are all right? Do you try to convince others, meaning that what you believe they should believe as well? Number 17, are you demanding on yourself, meaning that you always want to improve and push yourself further? Number 18, do you like everything to be in order around you? Number 19, do you generally mistrust others? Number 20, do you often blame yourself? Do you regularly feel guilty? Number 21. Do you regularly have breathing problems, like taking air? Number 22. Do you often have low blood sugar, or do you have diabetes? Number 23. Do you often have body tensions, like stiff neck, or maybe you get cramps? The next one is going to be, do you take care of other people's problems before you take care of your own? Same question. Do you take care of others more easily than yourself? Next question. Are you hypersensitive to being dirty? So for example, you take several showers a day, or you wash your hands all the time, or you use hand sanitizers a lot. Then the next one. Do you easily give up a project, a goal along the way? Next one. Are you impatient, refusing the slowness of others? And the very, very last one is that, are you bulimic, meaning that have you got bulimia? Or do you struggle with an eating disorder? It can be also that you overeat or you eat unhealthy food. So this is kind of what the question is. So when you have this, because we got to the very end of this video, what you should do is that you take the letters, because you've seen letters, RIHAB, and you count how many of them you have out of 10. And this is how you are going to see which core wound is the most dominant in you, and even the other ones are how dominant, because look, if all of them have like 9 or 8, that is very, very rigidly within you, and you have to work a lot on them. But look, a lot of us had really, really shitty parents, and this is how you should kind of see that it's it doesn't mean that, oh my God, there is something wrong with me. It means that you have been hurt really badly, and you had really, really fucked up parents. And if you have this mindset, you won't take the blame on yourself, because in reality, look, if you had emotionally mature parents, if we had an emotionally mature society, we would have been emotionally mature ourselves as well. But the problem is that our parents had emotionally immature parents as well, and society is created by the emotionally immature people. So the only thing we can do is that we step up and we start to work on ourselves and change our lives, and hopefully the more people are going to become more emotionally healed and more emotionally mature, the collection of these emotionally mature people is going to create an emotionally mature society. And there is going to be a link in the description box below that actually has all of this in a PDF. It's about 24 pages or something that you can download. See you in my next video.